So with the 4 opening matches of the playoff stage being done, we're now going to take a look at the upper semi-final matches as well as the lower round 1 matches and look at the map selection and how I think the picks and bans are going to shake out and who I think will win in each of these matches. But first, let's look at the Pickems. So I went 3-1 in the with the 4 opening matches. I only got BBL NRG wrong, right? But I did say that NRG are probably the favorites, and I just wanted BBL to win. So I think I wasn't really far off since that match was really close. So I think yeah, I really had a good grasp on that game too. So let's look at the lower round 1 matches first, and then after the upper semi-final matches, right? Because the games are gonna be in that order. And for the Gentlemate versus All Gamers game, that's gonna happen that way, and Nongshim G2 as well. So yeah, let's see whether with the map selections, if I still think that these matches are gonna happen like this, right? With what we've seen from these teams in their opening matches as well. And then we're gonna have Paper versus Energy here and Furia versus BBL. So let's head right into it, and we're starting off with Gentlemates versus All Gamers. And so with this game, I think the map veto or the map bans, the first round of them will be rather interesting because Gentlemates and All Gamers have had the same permaban during kickoff, right? Both have been permabanning Breeze, but I do feel like for Gentlemates it's more so a permaban rather than for All Gamers. They didn't ban it versus G2, but it didn't end up being picked. So I pretty much think regardless, All Gamers are gonna ban a different map and Gentlemates will ban Breeze. Also because I think for Gentlemates, as long as they play a map that they are confident at, like I think pretty much for every map except for Breeze and Corrode, they will feel really confident on and will feel like they're just gonna win against AG. So yeah, I think that's how the bans are gonna go for Breeze. And then All Gamers, I think they're gonna get rid of Bind. It's not a great map for them, and it's a really good map for Gentlemates, so that feels like it will make sense. For Gentlemates map pick, I think they're gonna go with Split. It's just after Bind, it's the best map, and it's also not a great map for AG. Or rather, it has looked like a great map for them domestically, but at this international they didn't look great at it in the last game. So I think for Gentlemates that would be a good pick. For All Gamers, I think they're gonna pick Pearl because on that map it's realistically their best shot at winning a map. But I still don't think it's gonna happen. I think it's gonna be a 2-0 for Gentlemates. So yeah, because of that, I've obviously picked Gentlemates to win it. And then for the second rotation of bans, I think Gentlemates would get rid of Corrode then, since yeah, as I've said, every other map they will feel great on. And then for AG, I think they might get rid of Abyss. It could also be Haven, but yeah, I don't know. It could be either of these, and then either of these could be the remainder, but I don't think it matters that much because I think Gentlemates are gonna win whichever of the two, and I don't think we're gonna get to that point because it's gonna be a 2-0 anyways. So yeah, I think 2-0 for Gentlemates. And the second match is gonna be Furia versus BBL, and I think this is gonna be a really, really close match again. BBL already going toe to toe with NRG. So yeah, I think Furia has looked maybe a bit worse than NRG has looked, but nonetheless, I think it's gonna be close. And for Furia, I think the permaban in Corrode will be a good ban in this match as well. For BBL, I think it will make a lot of sense not to ban Bind and maybe instead get rid of Lit, maybe. Maybe even Pearl, because EMEA isn't great on Pearl, but I can understand that you wouldn't wanna get rid of a map that Fury hasn't looked great on either. So I think Split is probably the best option to ban if they don't keep their permaban in bind, which I think would be a great idea. But for the moment, I've gone with BBL sticking with their permaban, and then for BBL's map pick, I've gone with them picking Breeze. It was realistically just which map did they look the best on compared to Furia, right? If they would pick their best map, then they will probably pick Abyss, but Abyss is a great map for Furia as well. So I think that's much too risky to pick. Then Pearl they've picked versus NRG. But yeah, EMEA Pearl, as I've said, I have no trust in that. And then Haven, which is also kind of an option for them to pick. I think Furia again has looked great on that map too. So because of that, I think it just leaves Breeze as the best option to pick in terms of what we've seen of skill difference between BBL and Furia. And I think it's the map that is the most clearly one-sided for BBL. So yeah, I would have BBL winning on Breeze. And then for Furia, I think they're gonna pick Split. Yeah, I think that's given. BBL hasn't looked great on Split, and Furia has. So I think also kind of one-sided for Furia that map. I would see them winning, and then the second rotation of map bans. I think for Furia, it's probably the most straightforward that they would get rid of Pearl, even though EMEA Pearl hasn't looked great. I think Furia would just feel much more confident on either Abyss or Haven and would therefore get rid of Pearl. And for BBL, I've gone with them banning Haven just because Abyss is a better map for them, and I think they're gonna go to the map that they would feel the best on, which is their best map in Abyss. And I think that last map is gonna be a banger if it happens like that, and it's gonna be really, really close. But ultimately, I do have BBL as slight favorites, and I would say it's gonna be a close 2-1 for BBL over Furia. So those were the two lower round 1 games. Now we're gonna look at the upper semi-final matches. And Nongshim versus G2 is a map that in my Pickems I had as one of the matches that were gonna happen. So I picked Nongshim in that. So yeah, let's get right into the map selections. And I think for Nongshim, the permaban in Pearl is a good map to pick or to ban against G2 because, well, you can make the argument that there could be a better map to ban, but like Abyss maybe, or you could also try and get rid of a map that G2 has looked really great at, like Breeze, but I think it's just a better decision for them to get rid of Pearl, even though G2 hasn't played it a lot just because it's been their permaban. And then for G2, I think they will get rid of their worst map, which is Corrode. It's also a map that Nongshim has looked better at. No, they haven't looked really insane on that map, but I still think it's a good option to get rid of that map. Just because it's G2's worst and probably where they have the least confidence on. Then for Nongshim's map pick, I think they're gonna pick Haven. I think it's probably their best map, so they're gonna have a lot of confidence on that map. Even though G2's look great on that map too, I still think that Nongshim has looked better overall on that map. So give that map to Nongshim, and then for G2's map pick, I think they're gonna pick Breeze, which has been one of their best maps, and yeah, they've looked great on that map. So I would, and we haven't seen a lot of Nongshim on that map, so maybe Nongshim is actually a bit better than I would see them at, just because I've only seen them play that map once. But yeah, I would give that map to G2. And so for the second rotation of bans, I've gone with Nongshim banning Abyss. I think that's a great option, just because, well, they've only played that map once and they owned one, and it's a fairly good map for G2. So I think that is pretty much set in stone. And then for G2, it was a hard decision between Bind and Split in terms of which they're gonna pick and which they're gonna ban. And maybe wrongfully so, but I've decided that G2 would ban Split, even though they've played that map once. I think their binds still looked better, and they at least have a better record on their map. And so because of that, I think they would feel more confident with playing bind, and they probably have a bit of a better shot on the map, even though it might not look that way because of the map elos. I think both of these maps are kinda 50-50-ish, and yeah, I think bind is gonna be a 50-50, and I would just slightly give it to Nongshim, just because I think they've looked more impressive as both as a group as well as individuals. So yeah, I'd give it just slightly to Nongshim, 2-1 for Nongshim over G2. And then the last match, which is already set in place, or we know that we're gonna get, is Paper X's NRG in the upper semi-final. Now, this is a rematch of the Swiss stage, so we got a bit more to work with, and I think Paper X are just gonna again ban Abyss. It is their perma ban. They banned it last time around in this match, so I think that will work out well for Paper X. Now for NRG's map ban, I think it gets a bit interesting, because the last time around these two met, NRG banned Bind, which I do understand, getting rid of your worst map, but for Paper X it's not a great map either. Out of the ones we've seen, it's probably Paper X's worst map as well. So because of that, I think it will make far more sense for NRG to get rid of Split, which also isn't a great map for them, and it is one of, if not Paper X's best map. So I think that would make a ton of sense. And also the last time around these two teams have met, Paper X picked Split and won on Split versus NRG. So yeah, I just think it will make a lot of sense for NRG to get rid of that map. And that would leave Paper X kind of in an interesting position as to which map to pick. Because if we take Pearl out of consideration, which I think NRG are gonna pick, because for NRG this is one of their, if not their best map, and they've looked way better than Paper X on that map. They picked it last time around versus Paper X and won on that map, so I think it's gonna happen that way again. And yeah, then for all four of the other maps, I think there's an argument to be made for Paper X to pick that map. So starting with Bind, you could make the argument, well, NRG has banned that map a lot, so clearly they are not confident to play that map and they wouldn't look great on that map. And while I do think that that is true, it's not a great map for Paper X either, so I don't really see them picking it. Then for Breeze, I think you could also kind of make the argument that it's not a great map for either of these teams. And so there might be an option, just because Paper X has played that map a bit more, and so they probably a bit more experience on the map. But yeah, ultimately, I don't think it would be a great decision, although possible. Um, but yeah, uh, these two maps would kind of be 50-50s, and both teams wouldn't really look great on a map. And then an option for a map where both teams would look great, I think, would be Haven. It was the remaining map the last time around these two played, and Paper X won on that map. Now it was a really close map, but still I think Paper X looked really great on that map. But just because it was so close of a map, I'm not too sure if Paper X are gonna pick it. And I think they might pick Road, even though it could be a trap. Because Energy has historically been great on that map, just not this year. And so for Paper X picking that map, even though on paper they've looked better this year on that map, it could end up being a bad decision, and Energy could look really great. And they might just end up, right, it could end up being like a Borg show or something, and then Energy take them up. But I don't know, I would slightly favor Paper X, even if I take into consideration that Energy will probably be better on that map than they've looked at it thus far this year. And then for the second rotation of bans, I think kind of the order in which it's gonna happen is pretty pointless. I think Paper X and Energy are gonna get rid of Bind and Breeze, and the remaining map is gonna be Haven again, which Paper X won last time around, but it was really close. So you could make the argument that it could go the other way around, and especially with Corrode being played in this the way I've had it, you could make the argument that Energy take it, but I would just slightly give it to Paper X. I think they've looked overall a bit better, so I would give it to Paper X, a 2-1 for Paper X. And yeah, these are the 4 games. So yeah, that was my prediction for the 4 matches coming up for the lower round 1, as well as the upper bracket semi-final matches, in how I see them shaking out. I hope we're gonna get some close matches. I hope it's gonna stay exciting. And yeah, then I'll see you guys next time.